Panelists is coming on. I don't think they ready for it. No, I don't think y'all ready for it. This what you want. Yeah. Hello.
Hey guys, and welcome to Faith and Other Stuff. My name is Shirelle, and you are?
I'm Tiffany. Hey guys.
Yeah, and my name is Ahmod.
I'm Kimberly. Hi.
Hi, I'm Amy.
What's up, everybody? I'm Kristen, and this is
Faith and Other Stuff.
So we're just gonna sit around and talk about some things that we have on our mind. Some things will be faith, and some things will be other stuff. So, do you guys have anything in particular that you have on your mind, that's been on your mind for the last week? Because I know we haven't seen each other in a little bit. So, anybody have anything pressing that they want to share with these fine people?
You know, I believe in ladies going first. I could say a lot, but I'm gonna let my friends here, whoever wants to share, they can go first. So
Okay.
I'm good. Ladies
Well, I
first.
have something.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
So some of us at the table are single and some of us are married. I'm married and Kimberly's married, but the rest of the people at the table are
Team single.
Team single. Okay. So this is my question: would you all date someone who was Kristen adjacent? Everyone's like,
No, should I not?
Well, I'm just asking because, you know, recently in the news, we've had, you know, Russell Wilson, right? He was a man of faith, and he started dating Sierra. And, you know, for what we know, I don't want to say she isn't, but for what we know, we didn't, you know, the general public doesn't think that she is a person of faith.
Right. Yeah.
And then we also have, who's the other guy? Israel Holman. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's dating Agent Bylon.
Yes.
Make sure I get that right, Bylon. So I just want to see what you all thought about it. Or do you have an opinion about it? I mean,
I do. I think that I don't like to go in a box and say I would never do that, but I mean, I think it depends on the situation and the circumstance. Like, it depends on, you know, the chemistry with that person. Like, even though they're not necessarily saved, is this somebody that I can see we have common thread? Like, is this something that we can build upon and really do I see us going to that level? So I don't want to just say I wouldn't automatically, because you never know. You know, sometimes you have to lead people to the Lord. So I don't think it's safe to say as a Christian I wouldn't, not because of that. However, you have to recognize too there's certain challenges
that's
and
going to
issues
come
you have
with
to deal
it.
with when you do
Absolutely.
that. So I don't want to say yes or no. I just think it depends on the circumstance and the individual for me.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think it's how people treat each other. And Jesus said, I give you a new commandment, and it's to love.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was his commandment. So I think who are we to judge? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Who are me to judge?
Who are we to judge?
Me to judge.
Just my ass.
He's another topic.
So as a male, what do you think?
Oh well, you know, this wasn't Shirelle didn't share this, but so I am going through a divorce right now. Don't mind sharing that.
Sinner.
It's not. I'm a sinner, yes. I'm a sinner. So listen. So for my take, I'm not gonna capitalize on the fact that I'm getting divorced, but I will say when it comes to relationships, because I have been in one for about 4 years. What I've grown to realize is that the individuals must have a common goal, and that common goal must be Christ being at the center of that relationship. If we're talking about being Christian adjacent here, we got to remember who the true example of a Christian is, and that's Christ.
Yeah.
So if we look at it like this, we have this triangle. There's me, you, and Christ, right? Not me, you, mama, because the man leaves his mom, his father cleaves to his wife.
Yeah.
Boyfriend, okay, yeah. So you want to date this guy, okay? What is he doing? What are the steps that he's taking, you know, to show his self-approved when it concerns pursuing that woman?
Was your wife Christian?
Yeah, she was a believer. Me and her both were believers.
Yeah.
But what it was, we
So
didn't have
sometimes
Christ.
when Christ is in the center,
You're gonna have some challenges.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, both people have to be able to say, okay, what's the goal here? What are we doing? Are we focusing on self? Or are we focusing on what the most important goal is? And that's living a Christ, having a Christ-like marriage, or even a Christ-like relationship leading to a Christ-like marriage. And that's just my perspective as a man. You know.
That's interesting.
And I think it's too, like, not necessarily doing the Christian label, because there are a lot of Christians, but they're not living the the life the way that they
Absolutely
should. So
not.
I wouldn't even
That's
go
level
with the
two.
label. Like, to me, it's more about like, do you have a relationship with
Absolutely.
Christ? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't like the title of Christian just because there's so much hypocrisy. You know,
Absolutely.
because we don't have it all together. So some
Right.
people feel it's hypocritical, but I feel like, to me, it's more about a relationship. Like, do you have a relationship with Christ? Do you actively pursue Him? Do you use that as at least your foundation for making decisions? So to me, that bears armor on it as well.
I think it
marriage
comes
is-
down to too, though. How do you treat other people? How do
Yeah.
you treat people in general? And I've seen a lot of Christians who are awful
Yeah.
to people in business and just in every day.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
That's
and
true.
a lot of people, if you tell them you're a Christian, they don't want to do business with you because they've been burned so many times.
Right.
So I think
is
it just
true.
comes down to the individual and how they treat people. And also, James said that true religion is taking care of orphans
Yes.
and widows.
Absolutely.
It says that's all it says. Like that is true religion. So I think you have to look at how do people treat people,
Yeah,
just in general, because like you were just saying, there's
Yeah.
some not so good Christians out there.
There
And
are.
being
Just
single,
because,
being
you
single
know-
myself though, I've had some Christian guys that have tried to
You-
pounce on me the
Right,
first
worse
day,
than that.
or
You're
they
hot,
want to
though.
spin
You're
it
hot. I would pounce.
Well, you know.
You're hot. I mean, come on.
You know,
Let's be
but
for real.
you know what? Just because people say they're a Christian, we can't judge whether people are Christian.
broad.
It's really broad. Just like,
It is.
I mean, just because I'm standing in a garage doesn't make me a car. I mean,
Go ahead.
You will know
I'm just saying, exactly. Yeah, you like that?
Like living
But I'm
your
just
life.
saying,
Right.
yeah, we're all, and that's why you are a Christian, and that's why you profess Christ, is because you're trying to be. I'm not a Christian because I'm perfect.
Mm-mm.
I go to Christ because I know I'm not perfect.
Right.
So that's when people get confused. So even people say like, well, if you're a Christian, and you did this or you did this, it's like that's why I'm a Christian, because I realize that I am very far from perfect.
Right.
And people kind of have that twisted and perverse.
Yeah, but you should be striving to be more Christ-like.
Absolutely.
You can't keep doing the same things over and over.
Absolutely.
Just make
Yeah.
another and say like, well, you know, God,
But
forgive me.
people of faith make the mistake of telling people like, Christian is about pressing towards, and you do press towards Christ. But we also have to let them know that we're not perfect,
Right.
because if you
Yes.
don't, then that's when they see and they say you're a hypocrite.
Right.
And that's why Christians get
part
such a
of it.
bad rap.
Right.
If we just be honest about who we are, then we won't have those
I
problems.
totally agree with
Yeah.
you, but I still think there's some things you should not be doing or saying.
Oh,
if you call yourself a
absolutely.
Christian,
That's true.
Absolutely.
That is
just
true.
certainly you should.
Yeah, of
You
course.
should carry yourself.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Let me roll back on the question. Sometimes us as people, we have a tendency to, go off and talk about 30 other things. I
No,
want to
that's good.
highlight your question though.
I think we should.
Should we date? You said a Christian adjacent person.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Christian education. I love that.
This is my perspective as a man. Go ahead, Tiff.
No, you're good. Good. I want to hear this first.
It might be something that I could piggyback off.
We could do like 4 shows just on this.
I know.
Yeah. Please,
Yeah.
please.
I mean,
share.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't necessarily view it as a problem, but if I'm the Christian one in the relationship, you have to know who you are walking into it. Like if you take the example of Russell Wilson and Sierra, he's associated with faith. She's not, but he didn't change who he was as a result of dating her. Like he brought her into what he was doing. He brought, he mentioned his standards for her. And, basically she had to agree with them if she wanted to date that kind of a person. So I think it's okay to maybe date somebody who is adjacent, but you can't lose who you are. You can't get mixed up in,
That's great.
whatever lifestyle they are living.
Right.
It's either got
That's
to be
true.
up to your standard, or not.
Right.
You
Right.
can't judge
Strong
people.
foundation.
People are who they are.
Absolutely.
Nobody's perfect. Even the Christian one.
Exactly.
Christian one is not perfect.
Exactly.
So,
And then you got to think about, like I said, and I'm glad you shared that, because to piggyback off that, when you think about the men, we're the chaser. You know what I'm saying? We're the one in hot pursuit. So it's not like you guys have to be chasing us and looking for us. We should be the one chasing you all. But what we should be chasing first and foremost is our relationship with God.
Right.
Exactly.
Because then we'll win that heart. If it's a woman who's not necessarily a believer, we'll win that heart.
Right.
Number one, because of our pursuit towards God. And that's my perspective as a
Right.
man.
Exactly. And I think too, it depends on again, I think you kind of hit it too, like your relationship with Christ. Like if I know I'm not in a place where I'm strong enough to date somebody who's
You shouldn't go.
Christ adjacent, then I need to make a conscious decision, be like, maybe we should just be friends right now until you are a little closer to Christ, not so
Right.
adjacent. You know what I mean? So I think it depends on your relationship, because I've personally tried that. Like I've dated somebody before who was a totally different faith than me, and we were unequally yoked. Like it was just I ended up getting persuaded and moved further away from Christ than what I anticipated. So I really went into it blind, like thinking, oh, it's not a big deal, it'll be okay. And before I realized it, I had changed completely. So I think it just depends on where you are personally with Christ, and if you're strong enough, and admitting and being honest, like, am I really strong enough to date somebody who's not, as strong as I am?
And you may meet somebody that's stronger, and then you find yourself like, am I the
Am
adjacent
I?
Adjacent one. Right.
That's
good. That's
the
true.
flip side of it.
That's true. And guess what? Even when you get married, you're going to be one of the adjacent ones, because even though me and my husband are both people of faith, I guess you have a different opinion, but who is the adjacent one in our relationship?
Wow. That's for you to determine. That's for you to determine.
Exactly. So, it always changes.
Good question, though.
Yeah.
Great question.
I like that.
Power-packed question.
I know. It's a little back and
But
forth.
that's happening more than just one, more than a few couples. Like, that's really starting to happen. So it's like, as believers, I've noticed a lot of people are asking me, like, as a believer, what do you think about it? I'm like, I really gotta, see how I really feel, like what I really think about this, especially being single. But it's like, it's happening. You know what I mean? Like, it's
a never-ending process. You have to practice your faith every day.
That's
You're
true.
not just faithful today. Whether you're single, whether you're dating, even when you get married, you all have to practice that every day together.
Absolutely.
So this is a continuous process. And even when this conversation is over, you still got to practice it.
Yes,
Yeah. And I think going into it, it's good to have open communication. Because when me and my husband started dating, he was the one that just got saved and committed his life to God. And he was like going to church every Sunday. And I was out here clubbing. And
turn up.
really out there running the streets.
So you were Christ adjacent?
I was Christ adjacent. And he, when we met, he, laid it down. He was like, well, I'll just let you know, I'm a Christian. I go to church every Sunday. I don't go out. I don't drink. And it was my decision to continue to talk with you.
Wow.
And I did. Yeah. And he ended up pulling me eventually. And look at it. I'm still saved.
Hey.
Like, while we're there, like, initially when he said that to you, with you being where you were, like, how did you, you know what I mean? Like, what was your genuine response?
Initially, I was like, okay,
how's this gonna work?
how's it gonna work out?
Right.
But I will say, my parents was pastors. They were at the time.
Oh.
So it wasn't like I wasn't, accustomed to going to church and living that life.
Okay.
But growing up that PK kid, you always got to be in church.
Yeah, you gotta date somebody.
Right,
in church.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I was rebelling from that, but when he brought it back to me, I was like, okay, maybe I need to get back in Christ, and I need to, because I was going down the wrong path.
Right.
So at first I was like, it took me a minute, but then eventually he was a nice person, we clicked well, and hey, we kicked it off.
Here you are today.
Yes.
Nice.
Well, we could ask Evan. He's Jewish. Would you date a non-Jewish woman?
I would. It's been interesting to listen to your different perspectives. Is it Kristen?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I think a lot of the way you talk about, or several of you talked about values, but it's interesting because you get to a certain dichotomy where, if Christ is your center first and foremost, there are a lot of adjacents that, a variety of other religions that just will share similar values, but not be right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you guys all made it kind of personal as to where you are. And it's been a really interesting conversation to be a fly on the wall.
So you don't feel like you have to date a Jewish woman?
I don't. Not for me. There are values that are important to me, and the values are repeated in a lot of different ways, and a lot of the spirited conversation in here is really just it's all positive.
Yeah, and I think people are more the same than they are different, to your point. I mean, I think that people, at the end of the day, they want to be loved, they want to love, they want a pursuit of happiness, not to be corny, but, most people want the same thing. Like, even when you travel, you realize that most people in other cultures, they may not share our culture or religion, but they really want the same thing. You see the same families in every country, so I think most people want the same thing for the most part.
If you're watching people and it's muted, and you're just watching how they live and what they do, where they hold Christ is that that either can be your defining part about them or not. So it's interesting because you guys do not all have the same opinion
Absolutely.
Very different.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
different.
yeah.
And I feel like too, like a lot of people aren't looking for religion now. You know what I mean? People are looking for relationships. So it's
Absolutely.
different. Like, you know, it's just times are changing. It's evolving. It's a different world now. You know, a lot of things are the same, but it's different. You know, the issues we're having to deal with. So I just feel like people aren't really interested in the box of religion anymore. It's more about like relationships. Like, you know what I mean? And that's what people are looking for: genuine relationship, genuine connection, genuine communication. So at the end of the day, even when you said that's what made me think about it. But it's not about religion. It's about relationships.
I think it's different. Don't tell me, show me. Show
Yeah,
me.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Because people should know that you're a person of faith without you even ever open a Bible or anything. If you just go by your your life and like, oh, something's different about that person, and they may not know what it is just by meeting you on the street, but they just kind of sense something is different. And I think that's more important because that's actually living a Christ-centered life. And some people just kind of identify that, you know, without you ever saying it, and then by the time you say it, they're like, oh, of course, yeah,
That's
that makes
a bonus.
sense. Yeah, that's
Right.
awesome.
Like it's a
Exactly.
problem. Like
Yeah.
having a Christ-like life between two people, that's a bonus. In a relationship.
Yeah.
It is. So it's not anything negative, you know, for some people to look down on.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Right. Well, spring is here and summer's coming. Are you excited? So Amy just came from Florida, so we're a little bit jealous.
A little
Yeah.
cold.
Don't be jealous. I had a little shoot down there. It was great. We shot a video for a pet travel show.
Oh, wow.
Where you can travel to different hotels and resorts and restaurants and whatever with your pet.
That's cool.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
You didn't take me. You didn't take me, so I don't want to hear about it.
No, you came down. The tickets are cheap to fly down there. You know, next time let me know.
All right. Okay. Yeah, you heard it. You heard it. Yeah.
So this is faith and other stuff. We've talked about faith and other stuff. Why don't you go out and talk to somebody about faith and other stuff?
We talking about F.O.S. Turn it up. F.O.S. in your stereo. F.O.S. on your radio. F.O.S. Yeah, we're talking about faith and other stuff.